homeless girl that's street mental health issues. Extreme mental health issues down here. It's one of the greatest injustice, and I compare it to, the injustice Jesus went through without the nails in the hands. But Kennedy is thrown here, and as Unitarian, and I'm just activist, and even like activist, I'm very thankful that out of this darkness came the light that we are in the city of Toronto, Ontario, in Canada. How could this beautiful animal show here? This beautiful animal aside from the cruelty to human, which I am, but I'm not considered a human being by your law. There's cruelty to get back here to this animal. This animal went through 2 fires. It is I eventually came to realize after the injustice that happened at my home, where an electrical fire, where there's no alarm, and I was so thankful for the psychological management that housing normally do, which was to see the smoke sensors are very sensitive for people who are smoking, so either or to whatever substance they use, because it was a sensitivity of the smoke sensor. When I went in the living room to the bathroom while smoking a cigarette, just set off the smoke detector, and I kept putting a cigarette, and I found out the smoke detector received me from the living room. I had the sense to smell something burning, right? Rubber, but most likely the rubber from the electrical. And when the smoke sensor was put out from my cigarette dome, and I went to the room and knocked because I thought the homeless person I put up, due to his wife dying, his common-law wife, who he was staying with, and housing told him that he had to leave within 3 days. That's before her funeral. Imagine that. And I was giving great praise for the Unitarian aid, right? While thinking of this in the majority of the room, this room was engulfed with humongous black smoke. Humongous. And there was no alarm, no smoke detector went off because of it. When I even opened the door, right, I don't believe the smoke detector went off when the smoke engulfed this unit. We're going to check because our area shows from the camera that it showed me screaming, call, and the black smoke, just the camera just got totally smoky. So we're going to see if there was any sensor that went off, right? Because I don't remember hearing it, right? It was, God who gave me sensibility to know that rather than freak out, I want to try and put it out to press the fire alarm. And if that didn't happen, we might have had, a lot of people displaced due to an electrical fire, which is very common in Toronto community housing. And if you check the records from 251 Sherburne down to 255, I believe it is, or 257, you'll see a lot of fires that were there. That's gone through Toronto community housing. And it was because of the method they use to do their maintenance and, essential work. All they have to do is have someone say, oh, do you know how to do electrical? Okay, go up there and there's an electrical problem, fix it. The plug is not working. Oh, you know, do electrics? Okay, can you go and fix it? So because they use so much contractors, right, they understand that they're not responsible for your license or to check your records. And due to the total negligence and overly unfit ability of Cruz, K-R-U-C-K, K-R-U-C-Z-E-K, the detective, and the fire marshal, who said within 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours after the fire, they did a fire investigation and a police investigation and deemed that it was me who set a fire to kill two of my animals, two cats, and I've had for over 5 years. In turn, I rescued this dog who I rescued from an abuse and informed the people in the building that there was a real fire and ended up nearly dying myself to rescue this animal. So this is, but now they will not give me a copy of the fire marshal report, telling me I'd have to pay to get it. I'm the victim. I'm the one whose apartment was engulfed by an electrical fire. And when the police are putting in a cop, they try to tell me, oh, well, we're going to send your dog to the Human Society. And she's 13. We'll put her down. It's like 3 or 4 times they said that. And you're going to have to go in and freeze in a cell and go through the process unless you agree not to go back to the place of the fire that we are falsely accusing you of. Another part of it was that Keaton was in the room. Turns out Keaton had just dropped off my dog after they walked. And when I came back right after I saw the dog, I didn't know mine, the room door was closed. I didn't know Keaton was in there. Turns out Keaton had left. So if there's any impropriety, it has to be in that room because the fire was isolated in that room, as by the video that was taken from somebody from the school parking lot boarding. All right, and that video is on there. Mr. Kevin Clark nearly killed and his cats are dead. Right? So this detective certainly did nothing to find out whether it was Keaton set the fire deliberately, or as Keaton said, it was his negligence when I ran to him. And I first told him that stand, he says, oh man, I left my cell phone plugged in. Oh yeah, she wants to go to bed. So this is where this animal has to sleep. We have no light, right? Okay, and take your bed, which one you want. So if I had a flash, you would see. So this is Annie's bed. In here, everywhere, every time we put things down, people will always steal. As you can see over there, and we always have to be wary as to where the bathrooms are. My lawyer starts to say that there's stipulation that he has to show that the apartment is habitable, which is more habitable. An apartment where one room is in fire, that's got smudge from smoke in there, or is this? This is where we have to live the past weeks. Tomorrow is the daytime. I will show you full condition. This is where we have to live. This is where you can come in feces and urinate. You can see all the different food stands. And this is where we have to live to protect ourselves from the rain. Me and this animal. And we always have to be watching our backs. And every time when you sleep, they'll steal your phones. They'll rob you while you are asleep. And this is where we are left. So is the law supposed to serve and protect? And in Canada, is it not that we are innocent until trial or proven guilt? I will tell you, there's zero possibility of any conviction. For there is zero possibility that I, candidate for Toronto Mayor, I, who have broken the largest children's rights case in Canadian history, in the death, torture, and murder of a 7-year-old child, I, who had just ran for provincial member of parliament, and I was getting my signatures to run for federal member of parliament, and you can see it on my site, LINK, Linktree, TREE, Kevin Clark, KEVI, and you can confirm it to Mr. Greco, who will tell you that at the time of this, I was halfway to getting my signatures to make the deadline to run for a member of federal parliament. And you will see on my LinkedIn site, candidate for member of federal parliament. So a man who is actively running for Toronto mayor, a man who is actively a candidate, or seeking to be a candidate for Canada's highest office as a member of federal parliament. Doesn't make any common sense that he would start a fire in his home and kill his two loving animals, and in turn choose to live here with another animal he rescued. No sense at all. And that's what makes this detective either fully corrupt or extremely, totally, unbelievably unfit. And that, for example, here, it is unbelievable. And Keaton even told them that he left his cell phone, which was a lithium battery. Now that made me think about, Keaton's, was their motive. And there is a couple of things that I will check when I go back into the unit for that. Even though it was not what I was looking for, I will accept it to get the security evidence. And where the instruct housing not to remove anything or alter anything, but housing things that they are above the law. And once we go in, there will be, I will put in this video, two things that I will be looking for. Aside from the outlet where I knew the fire started and spark from there, I will be looking for a 1915 old coffee grinder, which was metal. If that is not in the room, then that would put Keaton in suspect of deliberately setting the fire. Here is negligence due to the negligence of a socket that he saw was not done properly. So his negligence and the negligence of Allison led to the electrical fire that burned down the apartment in my room, and in turn, the fire marshal, totally incompetent, and the detective saying that he was because of his cigarette, because I said I lit a cigarette. I lit a cigarette in the living room while I was working on the computer and was going towards the bathroom. The room door was closed. The fire was isolated in the room. So when we go there, if the fire marshal report is any possibly accurate, then it would be the living room where the fire would have started, not in the bedroom. And if it was started by a cigarette in the bedroom, then it would have to have been deliberate by Keaton, because Keaton used to always go and get butts because he's on welfare and he smoked tobacco out of a pipe, right? And also, Keaton now has an apartment for twice the amount he makes on welfare, clothing allowance. He has gotten all these things here that first and last month started up everything. So he, who I saved his life from being homeless, now as a home, the person who put him up is homeless. And the fire was in the room I let him use to take care of my two animals. And the room I didn't use, I just cleaned it and to make sure it's always in proper condition. So we're going to look at all avenues. But if that coffee grinder is not shown in the fire, because that wouldn't have melted. And the photo of his mom, because if it was deliberate and he did arson that room, then the police should have charged him for arson, not me, because he left right after dropping off my dog, and the fire started 10 minutes later, but the room door was closed. So when we go in, I will document it for you. But this is where we'll be left to live. A 13-year-old purebred American pit bull, which is 91 human years, and a 61-year-old man who's running for Toronto.